what are the suggestions where the consumption cycle, which because of base, COVID, poor monsoon, which in a sense has suffered, how can that be revived? Fiscal deficit needs to be maintained, expenditure should not be compromised, but the consumption, stroll the semi and the rural urban consumption needs to be revived. So what are the FICCI suggestions that how can that balancing act be done, Mr. Shah?
That's a difficult balancing act, Nikunj, because if you were to look at the key drivers of reviving consumption, they are in the form of incentives, tax cuts, which is in a sense an incentive which is putting more money in the hands of consumers and hoping that they will actually spend. And third is the long-term capital formation, creating greater supply and creating greater wealth effect that trickles down to various parts of the population. But it's a function of short-term versus long-term. Consumption has gone down. We were at 6.8% in fiscal 20 to 23, down to 4% last year, and we've seen some effects of that. But on balance, I would say the economy is still fairly robust. So there may be some element of short-term incentive that's required, but we do hope that that does not overshadow the focus on the long-term aspect of the budget, which will also revive consumption, but will take a little longer. So if we look at that balance, we would look at favoring the long-term versus the short-term, and essentially working through the short-term with what we have today, which I don't think is overall bad.
Mr. Agarwal, the business and the company which you represent in a sense is a real proxy to consumer demand and what is happening to the consumption cycle. Now indirectly, consumption has really been on the back burner, looking at the data points of FMCG or for that matter even the two-wheeler sales. What is that balancing act which could be done in this budget where commitment towards infrastructure is not compromised, but a push towards consumption revival kicks in without compromising on the macro picture?
I think the focus of the government has been, and going forward, I think what is important is that it has to be investment which is leading inclusive growth. And for that, I think skill development is something, which will be important. Employment generation is what is important, and the capital expenditure increase will certainly help in those areas. Monsoon certainly, plays a very important role from the perspective of increasing the consumption, and hopefully so this year, it is predicted and we believe, the monsoon should be good, which will also have a positive effect on the consumption. And overall, what we see, in comparison to last year, we do see some sort of improvement in the consumption. And ultimately, if you see the impact of inflation has been there on the consumption, and gradually we are seeing if the inflation which is coming down, that should also have a positive impact to increase the consumption, and overall, it will help.
Mr. Goenka, there are some...
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.